The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit givestarquest.com. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. Joining me today on the panel is Joanne Mercier. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, Dom. Long time no see.
You've become quite the regular on this podcast. We had a scheduling hiccup this week, and so Joanne graciously offered to join me.
Well, catch me before Holy Week, and we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that reminds me, folks, there won't be an episode during Holy Week. We try to take a little bit of time off and spend it in prayer. So you look for us after Holy Week, during Easter week. Yay, Easter week. I can't believe it's almost here.
Yippee.
All right. So let's get into today's episode, right? Because we got a lot to talk about. So our topic today is, what is a NAS? Who needs one? And how do you get started with one without needing a computer science degree? You know, it's too bad we don't have Leo with us, because he's going to have a computer science degree. But so what is a NAS? And so a NAS is a network attached storage. I've talked about them many times on the show. I have several of them. And Joanne, you've been talking about that you're thinking of getting one for yourself, right?
Oh, I already have one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. You got one. That's what I'm remembering. And so we want to talk about, why you might want one and how to get started. It's not complicated. It's not hard. And what are the benefits and the pitfalls, honestly, the things you got to look out for. Let's talk a bit about the things that NASs do for us, the problems that they're solving for us. Certainly for me, one of the big issues is I edit a lot of very large audio and video files. I have tons of them. And these are files I don't want to lose. These are important historical documents for the network. And so I need storage space, and hard drives on computers, like on my Mac Studio, it's a 2 terabyte drive, but that only holds so much. Right now I have something like 12, 15 terabytes of stored data right now of old shows. And I pare down like to the minimum. So certainly archival storage. But I also use NASs. They're like little computers on the network that can do other things for you too. I have a media center. I store lots of my family photos. Like I have photos in the cloud in like iPhoto and Google Photos, but I also like to keep them here on my system where I can be sure that they're not going to get lost by some bad data center thing. So I keep a copy here. Some NASs, they give you the ability to have Dropbox or iCloud like storage or like Google Drive, and other things. You can run other programs on it. I run some Homebridge software for home automation on one of my NASs. So Joanne, what are you using yours for?
I'm using mine for media content. So either as what we would know as a Plex server. So it's holding all my videos, DVDs and of movies, TV shows, whatever I record off of my DVR. And it's also my DVR. It runs my over-the-air antenna and all the programming that goes through that. And that's the reason why I got it, and then got an exact duplicate of it for my office at the Collaborative. And that's where we put all of our material that we run for our faith formation as well as for our Bible studies now. All of that information is on the NAS, and we can get to it from either one parish or the other across town.
Very nice. Yeah, so it's a nice business use, and you could use it for that sort of thing too. And so great. You could also use it for backups. You could use it for like you said, multiple people accessing the same files in one place. And it really, you can find cloud services that do all these things, but this is your cloud. Hey, you get off of my cloud, right?
To quote Mick the Jagger, yes.
To quote Mick the Jagger, yes. So this is one of those one solution to this. You could get a computer like a Mac Mini or an old PC and attach a big hard drive to it and put that on your network and do it that way. But that requires you to be administering a computer on a regular basis and that sort of stuff. And it might be more effort than what you want to use it for. So this is specialized. It's a specialized tool for the job.
Yeah. See, for me, I call it a Ronco device. You can set it and forget it.
Yes.
And let it do its thing. Of course, you need to, you'll get your updates and saying one or more of your packages is out of date. Please go service it. And I get an email that tells me that occasionally. Mm-hmm. So I go and take care of it. But it runs constantly. Mine is 6 years old. So I bought it during the pandemic. It was a Christmas gift. And it's been chugging right along, and we've swapped out some of the discs because I've maxed them out, and
yep.
And this is the beauty of it. If you fill it up, you can get something bigger to put in it.
Right. Sometimes you don't even need to buy a whole new one. You just need some new drives, and we'll get into that a little bit. My oldest NAS is it's a 2018, so it's about 8 years old at this point. I'm in the process of replacing it, and upgrade. Like I needed one with more drive space because that 15 terabytes fills up quick, and so I need to get even more terabytes out of it.
I would love to ask you, how do you know that it's slowing down, or is it just it's older, or
it's more that it's getting full? Okay. And I wanted one with more drive bays.
Okay.
That's really what but I also I know computers, and I get real itchy when a computer is 8 years old.
Oh, okay.
So I just know it's old, and it gets dusty, and that's a whole nother thing we could talk about, is like keeping the dust out of them every once in a while, clear.
Yes.
Because they have fans, and they'll suck up any dust you got. And that's just the enemy of all computers. So you want to, that's a whole nother topic we've talked about. We'll talk about again. So one of the things we'll talk about is when does it make sense to set up your own network attached storage, your own storage, instead of just renting it from Google, Apple, Dropbox, etc. So we'll get into that a little bit. So just to give you a definition, a NAS is a small computer, that's all it is, with big hard drives, designed to store and share files on your home network. And it's accessible from your computers, from your phones, from your tablets, from smart TVs, over the internet, depending on how you want to set it up. And there's instructions from all of the different manufacturers on how to set it up securely so that your data is safe. And it's basically a box with one or more hard drives. It can have just one hard drive, but there are reasons why you will want to have more than one. But we'll get into that. And that's connected to your router, the box that comes into the house with the internet, over Ethernet. And that's what big thing is. It's got to be wired, because Wi-Fi is great. And you can have wired and wireless Ethernet in the same network. Wi-Fi is great, but you can't send as much data over it as quickly. And with NASs, you're almost always going to be sending either big files or a lot of files or both. And you don't want to be sitting around waiting for files to transfer over Wi-Fi. So it's central file storage, it's automatic backups, it's media streaming. It can do basic server stuff. You could even set up web servers if you want to have a web server in your house, or you want to set up a wiki for your family. There's all kinds of things you can do. And so instead of you having files scattered across multiple different computers, it becomes the central repository for your household. This is where all the things live. And so who might need a NAS? Well, families who have lots of photos and videos, and you could set up something like automatic nightly backups of your photos and videos from phones, which is a nice thing. And it can supplement iPhoto, Google Photo, all that sort of stuff too. People who want to replace or supplement cloud storage subscriptions from iCloud, Dropbox, Google One, OneDrive. I have Google Drive, I have iCloud, I have Dropbox, I have all of those things. I still have the Synology drive because I want to keep some files local on my server, not up in the cloud.
Yeah, my photos are like that. I decided at one point that I wanted to put all of my photos in one place, even though they live in the cloud in a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. That way I would know, and I would have the originals. where the other ones in the cloud can be, because Google did a terrible thing to me. I was using Google to upload photos, and it was uploading them 2 and 3 times, and then it was taking portions of the photos and making them a separate photo. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Right.
I have no idea what I did wrong, because I must have done something wrong. But so I just grabbed all the originals and sorted them out, and now they live in Synology Photo, which is easier to go sometimes when people are saying, oh, I have a photo of that, and now where does it live?
Right.
So at least with having a different copy all in one place on the Synology, I feel better about it. I can find it quicker.
And one thing that can happen with some of these cloud photo services is they won't have the original full resolution photos, and then you'll learn someday that, oh, I need to get my photos back, and suddenly you don't have a good quality photo anymore. So that's a downside. And yeah, so just having your files, and you don't want to keep them all, like, you without Apple Photos, you can keep the originals on your hard drive. But again, hard drive space is at such a premium for especially if you're on a laptop primarily. You know, a photo library can be gigabytes and gigabytes of space. You don't necessarily want all that stuff, you know, taking up all of your laptop hard drive space, especially how expensive getting additional space, you know, to getting a bigger hard drive on your laptop can be. So a NAS takes care of that. So another thing that you can use it for, if you're someone like you mentioned, Joanne, someone who collects media like movies or music or home videos, and I have both movies. I have like a big DVD collection that at one point I bought an inexpensive DVD USB DVD thing, and I used Handbrake and Make DVD and some other software, and I backed up my DVDs to the NAS, which is entirely within my rights as the owner of these discs. I'm not distributing them over the internet. I'm not violating anyone's copyright, and so I have them all here available to watch whenever I want. And the discs live in a box in the shed or in the attic.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah,
I all of the DVDs, and this goes for the 2 other families that share this with me. They gave me all the DVDs so that I have them in my physical possession in case anybody wants to come at me.
Right.
I have all the DVDs in a safe place, but they all live, you know, in the Synology for everybody to use and to watch.
Right. Right, exactly. And that's one of the nice things too, is with Plex, which is the software that you can use, media server software. If someone else is also a Plex user, they can access your Plex library from a distance remotely. So you could, you know, you could let someone watch a movie on your server, like lend them the movie essentially, or whatever it is you have, like, you know, if you have shows, collections of shows, or what have you. So Plex or Jellyfin's another one that a lot of people like, but they're both media servers.
I've worked with Jellyfin a little just because I've wanted to see the difference. And I'm still liking Plex, but Plex is starting to do some interesting innovations, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where they're going, so I'm starting to learn Jellyfin a little more.
Yeah, they've had some corporate leadership changes, and
that's what the reason is.
Yeah, they're kind of looking. I think they're looking for new monetization paths, and it's fun. I mean, I don't have anything against them making money, but I don't want them to ruin what I already have.
Hey, so, I bought my lifetime membership, so
which isn't available anymore. You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't.
Yeah, so that's one of the changes they made. But it's still, even if you're doing a regular subscription, it's still great. Like Plex is still pretty great. So another thing, like I mentioned, you could use it for home automation. You could put Homebridge on it or Home Assistant, which are both open source home automation systems. You can run a website on it. You could internally, or you could even set it up to be a web server that goes out to the internet. I don't recommend that necessarily. You don't want to be running, like, especially if you get popular, you don't want to be running up your internet connection bill. Or you even like running a home lab, which is a whole nother level of experimentation and computer sciencey stuff, but
and
we don't need to
geekiness.
get to. Yeah, it's a level of geekiness. Who doesn't need one? If you are someone who just has one big desktop computer with plenty of space, you might not need a NAS. If you don't, and if any things we mentioned, like having a home media server, like you could run Plex on a PC or Mac. Like you don't need to have a separate device. You could run it, that sort of thing. And maybe there are people who are comfortable paying for cloud storage. They want someone else to manage it. They don't want to have to manage anything. They just want to pay somebody and let them do it all. That would be another, people who would not need one.
I had to think long and hard.
Yeah.
Before I decided to take this on, because I knew I would be the one responsible.
Right.
For handling it. And when I first started this 6 years ago, there was no Claude that I could ask. And when Claude came along, he made my life a lot easier because I will ask him, how do I do this? In plain English, no hallucinations. Tell me how to do this. Yeah. And it's been a better learning curve for me now because it explains everything to me. Right. So I appreciate that.
That's one of the great things. And NAS it's not hard. It's not rocket science, but it does take a little bit of work. Like you do have to carefully follow instructions, but the instructions are usually, again, especially if you use like an AI, are usually straightforward and you just walk your way through it. And there's lots of instructions on the internet for all the major manufacturers, enough information. We'll get into this recommended brands in a bit. You've heard Synology first. I think Joanne and I are both Synology users, but there are other brands. But, there's a bit of administration and maintenance that you need to do that you have to be comfortable with. But if you're listening to a technology podcast, you're probably just fine. You're probably in that sweet spot.
And what I try to tell everybody who approaches any kind of computer, don't be afraid of it. You can't kill it, really. You really can't.
Just keep your drink away from it.
That's exactly. That's the only way you can kill it. It's if you don't treat it like the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right. So some use cases. If you want to use it as a family photo vault, there are all the different manufacturers have software. There are apps like iPhone apps, Android apps for Synology, QNAP, and Ugreen, the three big manufacturers. That and I know definitely that Synology has it. Let's talk from the Synology point of view, just because I'm most familiar with it. It has apps that you can put on your phone, and you can set it to automatically download your photos to the server all the time, just automatically. That will work. And then everybody's phone backs up to the same place, and you have one searchable library. And you can kind of do this, I know, like with, say, Apple's photos, but you have to get a family membership to Apple iCloud, like one or whatever it is, and you have to all that sort of stuff. You could do that. I do that. I already do that. I mean, for other reasons, I have an Apple iCloud one thing family plan for many reasons. But if I didn't want to do that, I could just use the Synology for that.
Right, but that's also immediate family. My immediate family is my husband.
Right.
My extended family of my cousins, and there are many of them, have now in their old age been saying, I want to share this picture with you. What do you mean? You have this picture of my mom. I don't have that one. So this is a good place to put those things and give them permissions to come in and, check out the pictures, add, take a few copies for themselves. And this is a good thing for your extended family.
That's a really good point, which is like Apple limits your family to 6 people. Right. I have 7.
Which you always have a problem.
Which I constantly have a problem with. With this, you're unlimited, essentially. I mean, there are upper limits, but virtually unlimited ability to have people accessing it. So that's an excellent point. Another thing you can do is automatic computer backups. If you're a Mac, you can set up a time machine backup, or if you're on Windows, Windows has a built-in backup system called File History. With other backup tools, File History does only file level backup with versioning, but Synology has something called Active Backup for Business, which is imaging backup. So it images the drive, the computer's drive, and backs that up to the server. And you can have multiple computers all backing up. So my computers, my wife's computers, my kids' computers, all can back up to the one drive. You got to have space, obviously, and that can be a lot of space. That takes up.
Yeah.
But it's something you can do. So that automatic backing up over the network, and it's somewhat seamless. You don't even notice it. One of the I'll get into one additional aspect of the backing up that I can talk about in a bit. But I also want to talk about, we talked about home media server. So store movies and TV shows on it. And then there's a Plex app that you could, or Jellyfin, that you can put on an Apple TV or a Roku or pretty much any streaming device, including some smart TVs. And you stream from that just like you would stream from Disney Plus or Apple TV Plus or whatever they call it, Apple TV now, or Amazon, whatever. It's just another app for streaming, but it's your files that you've put on your NAS.
Right, and I use it with a Silicon Dust HD home run unit that attaches to an antenna, and then it becomes my DVR. You can also do the same thing if you have a Tableau. You can put the Tableau into your Synology and use it as the DVR. And
that's pulling shows off over the air. Yeah,
which is better for sports fans.
Definitely,
because sports fans, they're still running a lot of the sports on regular television.
Let me tell you how my experiences during the football's playoffs trying to watch the Patriots.
Try being a baseball fan where everything is going behind a paywall.
Yes.
And they wonder why baseball is dying.
Right.
Okay. But this is a way to use your NAS for that purpose. It becomes part of it becomes a DVR. And then the good thing I do is if I start doing a TV show, like I've been getting old Carol Burnett shows. And what I do is I put them in the DVR, then I can take them from the channel's DVR and put them into the Plex. So now they become part of my Plex library instead of holding it in the DVR library.
Right, which eventually deletes, the DVR eventually.
When you get to a certain point, of course. Yeah. But it's also, but then I have fun taking all the commercials out. So, because I'm not leaving the commercials in.
Right. Although, thank God people kept some of those from the 80s and the 70s, because it is so much fun going to YouTube and seeing old TV ads.
That's when commercials were commercials, that they actually told a story or they were funny. And I know some people do that now, like Progressive or a few others try to do that. But if I have to hear one more time how many pills I can take or use this pill for that, and I'm like,
it's all medicine.
Go away.
I was showing my kids the old Wendy's Soviet fashion show ads.
Yes, I remember.
Oh my gosh, those are so funny. Swim there.
and how do they take it?
Oh, they think it's hysterical.
Oh, good.
Like they think it's hilarious. So
it still has traction.
It still has traction. So moving on, you could also use it as a document archive. Important family documents can live it. Now, obviously, you don't want them to only live there on your local hard drive, because God forbid something happened to your house or to the NAS or whatever, then you would lose it. So, but it's a good local repository for important family documents. That's not just your computer, but is accessible to, again, the whole family. That's important. You want to, this is why it's a good place to put these sorts of things. And I mentioned earlier, you can back up the NAS to the cloud. There is Synology has something called Hyper Backup, which can back up to different deep storage in the cloud, like Amazon Glacier or Amazon S3 or Backblaze B2. There's different services, and these are storage systems which are very cheap, but also not very hard, but harder to get the data out of. It's not easily accessible, and the point being, this is just end of the world apocalyptic backup, right? You just, if the very worst thing were to happen, your data is stored somewhere. So I've got that 15 terabytes of archival storage is also in a cloud on Amazon servers. It's local here, but it's also because, again, I don't want it all to be in one vulnerable place. So
right, I'm looking to move my genealogy files to the NAS because I do have it in a cloud right now, so I can access it wherever I need it. But I think I'd prefer to also have it here,
local,
just as a precaution, because I lose that, and that's 25 years of work.
Right, exactly. And again, you can access the data on your NAS remotely as well.
Right.
So it's just as easy to get to things. And again, that's the last bit. It was like you can use it as a personal cloud. So I have a Dropbox app on my computer and on my phone. I have iCloud. I also have a Synology Cloud Drive app, which works similarly. You open it up, and there are files there that are all on my Synology Drive. And I can access them and work with them just like I do with Dropbox or iCloud. So the big question is, can you save money? And it sort of depends on how you are using cloud now and how you will use your NAS. 2 terabytes of cloud storage averages about, I mean, you can get it for $10 a month, but that's actually on the low end. I think it's much more than that now. But at $10 a month over 5 years, that's $600. An entry level NAS with drives is anywhere from $400 to $700. So it's competitive, and the longer you keep it, the more you're saving. There's no subscription increases too, like with this. So, Dropbox or iCloud or Google Drive can always go up in their prices, but once you have a NAS, it's yours. You have full control of your data, and you have much more storage, like 2 terabytes. Sure. Apple gives you 5 gigabytes still in the iCloud as a starter, which is ridiculous.
So that's lame.
That is lame.
It is lamer than lame.
It is an insult. Whereas again, you could put terabyte after terabyte of data in your NAS. So it's up to you. The downside is you're responsible for it. You're responsible for maintaining it. You're responsible for make sure it's backed up, and all your data is local unless you take precautions, which you should. I should talk about the different kinds of NASs. I don't have this. I didn't put this explicitly in the outline, but there are a couple different kinds of NASs. In fact, let me just get into that. How to get started. So we recommend, there are 3 basic big brands: Synology, QNAP, and Ugreen. Ugreen is the newest, and they are the sort of up and coming. I'm hearing more and more about them. One of the things that sort of sets Synology apart is they have this large ecosystem of software, of apps that run on the Synology, and that either native, like they're part of they have like almost like a Synology store that's free, but then there's also you can cross load, side load stuff. That's what I mean. So it's just like a regular computer. QNAP. It does have something called Docker, which Synology has too, but it's almost like a virtual machine. It's a little more involved to get things set up in a Docker container. So it's not quite as easy, but you configure them and administer them through a web interface. And they all look really nice. The user interfaces these days are much better than they used to be. They're all decent. They're all good. So those are the brands. If you're just getting started, my recommendation is you get an entry level NAS with 2 drive bays, and it should have between 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM. RAM matters in this because your NAS is going to be doing some processing, and especially if you're going to want to use it as a media server, it's going to have to be transcoding the media files into a format that goes on your TV. So you want something with a decent amount of RAM and a decent CPU.
Right. If you want, if you're trying to save a little money, you could start with getting whatever level RAM comes with it. But every one of them is expandable. And I immediately bought the expansion because mine came with 2 gig of RAM. I bought the 4 gig. So it's a 6 gig of RAM device.
I really, I need to expand the RAM on my personal NAS because I keep running out of space on it. It keeps hitting the RAM cap, and I have to reboot it every Monday. I reboot the thing just to clear it up, and it's mostly because I'm running Homebridge on it. It's the home automation stuff.
Okay,
it just uses a lot of.
Good to know, because I tried putting Homebridge on mine, and I may not have been in a good technological space at the time, and I said, forget it. This one's above my pay grade.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's using 60% of the RAM on board. It doesn't say how much RAM there is, so it's not too bad. By Monday, that will probably be higher.
Probably.
That's where you kind of start with things. Why 2-bay? Well, you want to get 2 identical hard drives, identical manufacturer, identical model. You want to pair them. You always want to pair them. And you want ones that are labeled for network attached storage or for servers or that sort of thing, because those kinds of hard drives are built differently. They're designed to run continuously, which is what NAS drives do. And then you want to configure it. There's a couple different ways you can configure it. You could just leave it as 2 drives that are one big bucket of space. That's called RAID, redundant array of independent drives, what the ISI, inexpensive drives, redundant array of inexpensive drives. And so this software can set it up so that they are basically the NAS sees the 2 drives as one drive, one volume, just uses all the space. That's fine, except it doesn't give you any redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you configure it as a RAID 1, what it means is it's going to mirror. So anytime it writes something to one drive, it also writes it at the same time to the other drive, so that you always have a backup. Now, Synology has its own proprietary system, Synology Hybrid something. What it does is it allows you to have, if you have especially more than 2 drives, it allows you to have like one complete drive failure and still keep going. And not lose your data. So the more bays you get, if you get a 2-bay, 3-bay, 4-bay, 5-bay, and you fill it up, you can get more and more storage and more redundancy. It's not backup, it's redundancy. And the nice thing with Synology is that you can put drives of different sizes in. They don't have to be matched for it to work. If you've got a 3-bay system and you filled it with 2 4 gigabyte drives or terabyte drives, and then you get another 8 terabyte drive, you put it in there, and now you're like you can put that in and you increase your space by, I forget the calculation it calculates. It's not exactly 8 more terabytes. I forget how it figures it out, but nevertheless, configuring as a RAID, it reduces the available space that you have for storing stuff, but it makes it for increased reliability. And if drives die, it just happens. It's the way it is. The entropy is part of the universe. And so a drive will die, and rarely they die multiples at once. And so the more drives you have, the better in this case. So you want to, like I said, wire it to the Ethernet to the router. And ideally, you also wire to your computer. Just wiring to the router means the slow point is the connection between the Wi-Fi between your computer and the router. You're still going to be slow. So, but ideally, you want to have a wired connection to the computer at least whenever you're moving large files or a large amount of files. And they all have a setup wizard that walk you through the process of getting them set up. So that's nice. And like I said, you can get the interface to configure them is either through the web browser or they'll have phone apps. In fact, Synology has multiple apps. Yes, for several different purposes. So objections that people might have or might voice, it's complicated. Oh, it just sounds too complicated. I'm not very technical. It takes about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
It takes about 30 DOM minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's be real to some of us who are not or either a little older or not as savvy, it will take you time, but you need to be dedicated to it. Like I said, I did it 6 years ago in the initial setup, and it took me a few hours to do it. Okay,
now,
I'll be honest.
Was that completely set everything up or just get it
that
running?
Was completely set everything up.
Yeah, the 30 minutes is you can be up and running with a file storage device on your network. I'm not talking about all the other apps and other things that you want to have running as well.
Right.
Right. So the basic setup, you'll have it out of the box and basically connected to your network in about 30 minutes.
But those were the days of where you had to watch the wizard.
Yeah.
Usually at the same time. Now I believe it would be easier using an AI. Because you can
walk you through things.
Yeah, because if you get stuck on something or you don't understand what you're reading as you're going through it, you can kind of throw it right into a Claude and say, okay, explain this in plain English.
Right.
And it's a lot easier.
Heck, you can even take a picture of your screen with your phone in the app and say, explain this to me. You don't have to type it all out. That's the great thing about AI.
But don't be afraid of it. That's the whole thing. If you're looking at this is an investment. This isn't just something you're not gonna trade this in every other year like a phone.
Right.
This is something that's gonna sit on your desk for a while. It will gather dust. If it's doing its job, it will gather dust. But it's something that's a long-term investment. And the thing is, you need to know what you want to use it for initially. Then it can grow.
Yes.
As your needs grow. That's the good thing about it.
Right. Exactly. Another thing people bring up is what happens if a drive fails. We've kind of talked about it a little bit. So a RAID or the Synology version of it protects against a single drive failure. If you have a 5-bay or 3-bay, 4-bay, if you have multiple drives fail, you're probably safe even then in that. But again, you probably want to have offsite backups eventually set up as well to give you protection against catastrophic failure.
But it's smart enough to tell you when something's about to happen.
Yes.
It does send you, if you set it up to send you an email, then it will start to tell you if things are going wrong. When my drives were getting too small and I was filling them up, they were saying you really need to attend to this and change out your hard drives.
Yes.
Which is when I went from a 4 terabyte double to a 12 terabyte double.
Yeah, I actually had a drive go bad, and I got a warning. It's like, hey, this drive is going bad. You need to replace this as soon as possible. And so, it walked me through the steps, and I didn't even have to shut it off. Mine you can hot swap, and so I just pull out the bay. I take out the bad drive, I put the new drive in, put it in. And there's a few steps you go through to tell it to, hey, it has to repair the volume. It has to repair its data volume. And that will take a while. It took like a couple of days, actually. Again, I have a lot of data.
You have bigger data than I do.
Yeah. So it took a few days, but I just let it go. And I could still use it while it was doing that. It wasn't that it was unusable. And eventually it finished and it was good to go. And everything was good again. So it requires a little bit of maintenance, but they're pretty hands off most of the time. And then another question is, what about security? How secure is it? Well, they use your strong passwords. Most of them have 2-factor authentication or pass keys. Synology has a system where you can have you have the app on your phone, and it's called Secure Sign-In. And when you go to sign in on the through the web browser, it will send a ping to your phone. We've done this with a bunch of other things, right? A ping to the phone. Yep. You look at it and says, "Hey, approve." I approve, and you go. And if you get one of those requests when you're not trying to log in, then change your password.
Yes. No, that's what I do. It's the safest way of doing it. But again, this is not, for me, a server that people know where to find it. So for me, it runs certain things. And that, again, if that's what you want it to do, then you can be pretty secure in knowing that it'll be pretty safe.
Right. Even when you expose bits of it to the internet for you to access remotely or other people to access, you're still pretty safe as long as you follow their recommendations. You keep the software updated. That's a big thing. When it tells you need to update the system software, update the system software, update the apps, because very often that's not just bugs they're fixing, they're security fixes as well. So you want to do that. just do what they tell you to do and you'll be fine. Most people get into trouble when they go beyond that, frankly.
Yes.
So that's network attached storage. Is there anything else you wanted to throw in there while we're talking about it, Joanne?
It's again, I think we covered that. If you hear the use cases here, you really, when you do this, you've got to know what you want to use it for.
Yeah,
they're not just pretty little things you leave on your desk and say, gee, I have one.
Yeah.
You really need to know what you're going to use it for. And they are a little loud, depending on the type of drive you put in it. Some, my 4 terabyte ones were very, very quiet.
Yeah.
My 12 terabyte ones are noisy for some reason. My husband's like, are these things okay? And I'm like, yeah, they're just bigger and noisier, I guess. But they haven't done anything wrong. But
right.
they just, you know, again, it's a Ronco. If you know what Ronco is, it was a type of company that made all these very easy products in the 80s and 90s. Yep. It's the same type of thing. Once you set it, you can forget it, except when it tells you, I need help, I need an update, then you should do that.
Right.
But it can be your best friend as far as keeping data safe, as far as keeping, you know, a collection of videos and you know, at your fingertips, so you don't have to always go looking for the DVD player.
Right.
It can help you with your television. It can, you know, it can do what you want it to do.
Right.
As long as you take care of it.
Right. And if you're just looking for a lot of storage space, just buy a big hard drive. It'd be cheaper for you in the long run.
And what I did with my, you know, I had these 2 4 terabyte hard drives. They have most of my collection at the time. Mm-hmm. One of them's in a safety deposit box in case something happens.
Right.
Then at least I still have the info.
Yes. Like from, you know, as of that date. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's good. All right. So that's network attached storage. If folks have any specific questions or have any other information they'd like, they can certainly write into technology@sqpn.com or join us on our Discord at sqpn.com/Discord and have a conversation. We'll be happy to share. So before we move on, we want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Kenny P., Becky H., Peter C., Father Joseph S., and Leslie H. Their generous donations at GiveStarQuest.com make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting GiveStarQuest.com. So we have a headline or two we'd like to share with you. Let's get started with this one about the cyber attack on a car breathalyzer firm. So cyber attack on a car breathalyzer firm leaves drivers stuck. This is a Wired story. And this company called Intoxilock, which is a great name.
I'm sorry.
They are an automotive breathalyzer maker. So if someone gets arrested for DUI, sometimes the only way they can get access to their car is if they have this lock on it so that they have to breathe into it to prove that they're not intoxicated, they're not drinking, and then it unlocks the car and allows them to drive. So what happened is apparently they reported that they'd been the target of a cyber attack, and they have 150,000 drivers in their system, which is a lot. And because they had downtime, their servers were down, some people couldn't drive their cars. Drivers that use the breathalyzers reported being stranded due to the device's inability to connect to the company's servers. One guy on Reddit was saying, I'm being held accountable at work and I feel completely helpless. Other people trying to, explain, I'm not drinking. It's just my car won't start. The reason that they got locked out is because Intoxilock's breathalyzers need periodic calibrations that require the connection to the company's servers. And so when they couldn't make the connection, they wouldn't go. So Intoxilock said that they were pushing out 10-day extensions on the calibrations while they got their act together. Joanne, what do you think of this one?
I'm sorry. This one makes me giggle. I understand. I feel some sort of level of sympathy. Okay, for these folks who are looking like they're doing something against the law at this point. However, is there any other way that we can do this type of thing without having to rely on a device that can get hacked. I mean,
Right.
that this is where we're coming down to in cars. For example, and this is nothing like this, but I just have replaced over the last 18 months my entire info system on my Subaru.
Yep.
Not only the touch screen, but the brain behind the touch screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I'm doing that and I don't have problems, are these type of devices worth it? I mean, should these folks be relying on this type of thing? I don't know how else
Right.
I don't know how else they would do this with their court-ordered problems, but I just think this is kind of setting yourself up for trouble.
Right. Well, and in fact, I think I don't know, but I think it talks a lot, probably contracts with the courts, not
Right.
with the individuals. So that the individuals don't have any choice. But this is a bigger problem than just people who have a difficult situation in their life like this, because part of the problem is just how reliant our vehicles are on connecting to central servers by being like, you don't realize it. My kid's karate instructor was just telling me the other day that his truck has been in the shop for a month because the central computer can't communicate with the servers at Ford.
I believe it.
And therefore it won't run. And it's like as someone who grew up with old V8s back in the 70s and 80s, you know what I mean? Like with cars, like you could just get in there with a wrench and get it working. I mean, it just boggles my mind. I love computers as much as the next guy, but the fact that we've set up a system where these vehicles, why? What possible reason could there be for this vehicle to have to be able to talk to a server in Detroit in order to drive? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
The thing is that car companies, and I know we're getting off of this, but car companies are very good at making cars.
Yes.
But they stink at the technology that they're trying to keep up with. That's why, I mean, my Subaru is one of the greatest cars. I mean, of all the cars I've had, my Subarus are the most reliable. But their brains, their computer brains now, are the worst things ever. Why should I, for 18 months, be subjected to not letting my phone be able to work in the car?
Right.
It just cuts out in the middle of a conversation, and I thought it was my phone. No, it's the system. It locks up. You can't touch anything on the screen. My nav doesn't work. It's like, are you serious?
In a car.
Yeah, in a
up.
car.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a good sign. Not a good scene there. Yeah, that's bad.
So I feel bad for these folks because now they're being made to look like they're the problem.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So another headline from the Independent. Mark Zuckerberg builds AI CEO to help him run Meta. The big question is when people walk into the office, how are they going to know which one's the AI and which one's Mark? I'm just kidding. Robo Mark.
This man is a Looney Tune. Anyway.
So, he's developing a personal artificial intelligence agent that can perform some of his CEO duties autonomously, bypassing human reports and various corporate management levels in order to get information that he needs. And they talk about this as part of a broader look at in Silicon Valley. And when I mean Silicon Valley, I mean all of the tech industry. There's this huge push to use more AI. Even if it's tangential to your work, you look like you're a better worker in the high tech industry if you're using AI for everything as much as possible. They call it token maxing, the basic level, the basic unit of interaction with an AI is through something called tokens. But Mark is all in on AI at the corporate level in his companies. He really wants everyone to be using AI. He talks about, flattening out team structures and things that used to take large teams being able to be run by one very talented person. And I don't know. I mean, I've been using Claude for more and more in these amazing ways. Maybe some future episode I'll talk about some of the things I've been using it for to do like a lot of the grunt work that I do. But I don't know. It does concern me a little bit the extremes that some of these companies are going to.
I agree. I mean, I use Claude a lot in what I do, but I'm not about to set up Claude to run my Bible study.
Right.
Because, and I have asked Claude. Now, I know I spoke about magisterium a couple of podcasts back, and I got very annoyed with magisterium because I asked it a question it should have known liturgically. It did not know it. Claude knew it.
Interesting.
Right, which made me kind of like drum my fingers going, so what are they feeding the magisterium AI? They're not feeding it liturgical or ritual information, which...
At least not yet. Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But what gets me is... this sounds with Zuckerberg like, and with some of these other, real savvy techno Silicon Valley people, that we just want to give our AIs the job of doing our job.
Right.
That's not what AI is for. AI is to help us do our job, not to give it the job. Because then that's not, they're never going to be able to program an AI to have any kind of empathy or human intuition or anything like that that's needed.
As I've said many times, it needs to be, a very talented and very dumb intern.
Yes.
Like an intern, you give a manual. Here, this is how you do your job, and their job, not your job, their job. And so give it tasks, give it things to do, but it's not doing your job. It's doing the things that are not central to what your talents and needs. So yeah, because one of the things that concerns me is the talk about like having these independent AI agents that talk to each other, and that they're organizing things for on your behalf, and with other AI agents, and I start to get a little nervous about that.
Is that anything like my people calling your people and setting up lunch?
Yeah. My AI calling your AI and setting up a meeting. Yeah, maybe someday we'll get to that. I don't think we're there certainly for that.
I don't want to see it.
Yeah, a little concerning, that one. So let's do one final story. We got a few minutes here. Let's talk about this last story out of San Francisco. Trapped inside a self-driving car during an anti-robot attack. So back in January, these folks were driving in a Waymo, which is I think it's a Waymo. Yeah, it's a Waymo, which is a robo-taxi in San Francisco, and they were just driving on the streets. And they were at an intersection, and some guy ran off the sidewalk at the car and started beating on the car and trying to smash through the windows and yelling at the people inside. He wants to kill them for giving money to a robot. And this completely irrational. And the autonomous cars, when there's somebody near to the car, they won't move.
Right.
That's the problem. Self-driving cars are designed to stop moving if a person is nearby, according to the story, and so people can take advantage of that to harass and threaten the passengers. This is not a isolated incident. This has happened in other times as well, and the people inside they felt trapped because they're thinking, I can't get out and run away. This guy's could attack me if I get out of the vehicle. And they tried to contact Waymo. They called 911. They called Waymo support line. Waymo told them it would not manually direct the car away if someone was standing by, nearby, and that passengers, you'll be okay if you just keep the doors locked. Meanwhile, the guy's smashing on the windows like, okay. And the car's software doesn't allow passengers to jump into the driver's seat and take over. And the cops weren't coming. The San Francisco police, well, they did eventually show up after. But they said basically the Waymo said that it was unfortunate but a rare occurrence. We believe our technology can fundamentally improve road safety, provide a safer ride, and empower people. Yada yada yada.
Sure.
So I mean, and I've seen a couple other videos of people in these robo taxis, in tricky situations, cars getting stuck driving in circles, becoming lost in a parking garage. And one that there was one that was like trying to cross a really busy highway, just kept edging out, and the people in the car are like freaking out, waiting to get hit. I don't know. I mean, again, we're in the early days of this technology.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to get in one of these today. In 10 years, maybe that might be different, but I don't know about today.
I
Not
don't.
For me.
In 10 years, I'll be in my 70s, and I'm not sure I would trust it. Still, my sainted mother, God bless her soul, got into regular taxi cabs until she was 82. She would take a taxi cab alone. She never learned how to drive.
Uh-huh.
So she would call for a cab. They would take her everywhere. She'd go home. I want to be the same way when and if I can no longer drive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would trust these cars. And because I'm just not sure we can teach them the ability to, unless everybody is driving the same way. But to have something like this happen where because it wants to respect the human, it's not going to move.
Yeah.
That means then the humans who want to be nasty are going to going to start having fun with this, and that's going to terrorize people. And it's just,
why wouldn't Waymo have called the police and have a situation where deploy police immediately upon, an incident happening or something?
Bad press.
Weird.
Bad press.
Well, it's worse if someone gets dragged out of your vehicle and killed for being in.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I know. We don't have crisis situations until we have the crisis. We don't have crisis
exactly.
Response. Yeah. Yep. So those are our headlines. Welcome to dystopia. So, Joanne, let's move on to our picks of the week. Why don't you go ahead and give me your pick this week?
My pick this week goes with our topic, and we were talking about you need to get hard drives for these NASs that are, made for this type of purpose. So the ones I put my stock in are the Seagate Iron Wolf internal NAS hard drives. I've had the 4 terabyte and the 12 terabyte. And they are solid. They run very well. Yes, some of them are quieter than others, but they're made for this purpose. If you just get a regular hard drive, it could burn itself out. I did a little research on this stuff before I started buying the hard drives, and they said if you put the wrong one in, it will burn out faster.
Right.
So they kind of put Seagate. Seagate's sort of a middle. And Seagate has one above it, which is a Iron Wolf Pro.
Yep.
Which I think they've started to move to now, but mine are the regular Iron Wolves. And the first ones I had lasted 4 years, and they're still good. And now I'm 2 years into the second set, and they don't drop. They're not doing anything strange. So
they're still working.
But you need to get, at least for my machine. My 20 tells me I need 2 of the same size.
Mm-hmm.
So it always has to be that. The only difficulty in that is the higher you go, the more expensive they are per drive.
Right.
Right now, with things the way they are, tariff-wise, these drives are coming in at 12 gig and 16 gig at about $400 a piece.
Well, it's not the tariff so much as the AI data centers sucking them all up. Western Digital was saying, I think we had a headline the other a few weeks ago, Western Digital saying they had sold out all of their stock of hard drives to 2026 already.
Wow.
Mostly to data centers.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's something we should have probably mentioned in our discussion of the NASs is just getting the drives can be an issue. It might be an issue.
Because it doesn't come with it. The drives do not come with the bay.
Sometimes you can get a bundle like on Amazon. Yeah. But it's not automatic. And the reason you want a pair is you have a 2-bay drive, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need a matched pair for a 2-bay drive. For when you get more bays, then you get a little more options on that. But yeah, it is pricey. The bigger the drive, the more expensive per terabyte. Like the price goes up kind of quickly. So
very quickly.
So you gotta be realistic about how much storage you're going to start with. But that's the nice thing we talked about. You can upgrade your drives. You can as you need it. Not, you don't have to go for it all at once.
Right.
Excellent. Good pick. So my pick this week is something new, a new toy I got a few weeks ago. The MacBook Neo in citrus. Thank you very much. I decided I didn't get the orange iPhone 17. I kind of regret it now. So I just said, I'm going to get the citrus MacBook Neo. Now, I got this for the kids. and partly because they were using my laptop all the time. And I wanted them to not be, monopolizing mine, but mine is an M4 MacBook Air, and it's got the oomph that they needed for doing what they were doing. And they were doing mainly things like, they're doing recorded classes on it. Like they do their homeschooling, online classes, which doesn't require a lot of horsepower, but they also play Minecraft, and they play a game called, like a multiplayer game called Valheim. And that was when I was like wondering, will it run that? Cause it's got not super high graphics, but it's got some graphic requirements. And so that was the big thing. When I got the Neo, I was like, let's give it a try. And if it doesn't work, we'll return it, and I'll get a used MacBook Air or something like that. And I tell you, it doesn't sweat. It can do, I've heard it in many reviews. This is a real Mac. This does everything any other Mac can do. It might not do it as fast as some Macs, but it can do it all. And for the 80 to 90% of what most people need, it is fine. It will do all of your Word, Excel, presentation needs, all of your browser, all of your mail, all of your anything like that, and it will play a lot of games, and will do all that stuff. It is a great computer for the price. I can't tell you how impressed I am by it. It is really fantastic. This is gonna eat Windows laptops lunch. It is. I mean, it's still a little more expensive than a lot of Chromebooks and Windows laptops, but you're getting what you pay for at that lower price level. I trust me. I've owned some of those. You really are getting what you pay for.
Right. And with Apple, I mean, I have to admit the Silicon has been a game changer for Apple computers. My laptop is 6 years old. Okay. I took a look at my battery consumption, to see how my battery health is. My battery in that thing, and it's been my daily chug-a-lug for 5 of the 6 years, is at 90%.
Yeah, 90% health.
Yeah, it's at 90% health. My other ones, the Intel ones, by about year 4 were, buy a new battery.
Most Windows PCs are 3 years. I give them 3 years, 4 years at most.
Right. They're going to be, I don't know what Apple's going to do, because these things can keep going.
That's forever. Yeah. The great thing about this is, if you own there are a lot of people who own iPhones who don't own Macs. They have PCs.
When
you get a Mac to go along with your iPhone or your iPad, you're going to realize how well they work together.
Game
and that's
changer.
one of the things, like the continuity stuff, the iPhone mirroring, the iCloud, all the mail and contacts and calendar, all that stuff, all working. It's all seamless. It all really does work really well. There are times when it doesn't, like anything, but it works really well.
Yeah, we're gushing, Dom. Watch out. We're gonna get hate mail.
Fanboys. Well, no, I will note we are complaining about that 5 gigabytes of iCloud. It's
we are.
Stupid
we
5
do.
gigabytes.
We do. But no, if the Neo is going to be can be well worn like the MacBooks and the Airs, then I think it is a game changer for schools and places that want these in bulk.
I heard someone say today, this is going to be the worst MacBook Neo ever, in the sense of it's only going to get better as time goes on.
Right.
Apple, they always put out, like, the first one, it's kind of bare bones, and then they build from there. So whatever that comes out next year, the year after that, is going to be even better. So yeah, because and if you want to use my MacBook Pro as an example, that's the bare bones first Silicon. Right. Okay. And she's still going. Still going, yeah. I've got a MacBook M1 MacBook Air. It's still great. They are still great computers. So it's awesome. All right, so that's it for the gushing over Apple. You can join us for WWDC has been announced, Joanne. We have to put it on your calendar. We're going to be talking about that first week in June. But for now, that will be it for us from this time. We would love to get your thoughts on any part of our discussion, any questions you have about network attached storage, for instance. Let us know by sending an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. Find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/338. Find previous episodes at sqpn.com/technology. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Tech. We're in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. We make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new episodes. And also, share the show. Let other people know about it, especially if you know someone who could benefit from some of this technology information. We would appreciate that. So until next time, Joanne Mercier, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Thanks, Tom, and happy Holy Week, Triduum, and Easter to everyone.
Yes, thank you, and you too. And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy, The Secrets of Television. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/TV.